Are you struggling to get your musical elements sounding coherent and working together? The most common reason for this is because of a lack of music theory understanding. The word music theory gets thrown around a lot and can feel quite intimidating, especially if you've had no classical training. I'm going to be showing you the tools and techniques to help unlock your musical skills without spending 10 years behind a piano. Today, we're harnessing the power of Ableton to help get your musical elements sounding cohesive and gel together, no matter what your experience level is. Let's jump in.
SYNTHO.
The best way to make sure your elements gel together is to choose a scale and stick with it across your entire project. A scale is a collection of notes that sets the tone of your music. Whether it's happy, sad, or moody, a music's feeling is typically dictated by the scale used. This is all the music theory you need to get started right away, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can put it into practice with just a few simple tools. To start with our project, I've got a drum groove that we're going to work upon. This is what it sounds like. From here then, we're going to write a bass line, and we're going to be working in the key of F minor. The scale we're then going to use is going to be looking at the blues minor scale. Now you might be thinking, I don't know the notes in the blues minor scale, but there's a few tools that we can use to help you easily play in that scale. So we have our bass tone, and we want to play a melody in the F minor blues scale. And since we don't know the notes for this, we can use an Ableton MIDI effect to make sure that every note we play is in the blues minor scale. Simply go into your Ableton MIDI effects, head down to scale, and click the drop down bar. Then you want to find the scale you're working with, in this case the minor blues, and we're going to drag that onto the channel that we need to. Currently it's set to C, so we want to change the bass note to F. This means now that every note we play is going to be in that scale. If we accidentally play a wrong note, the Ableton MIDI effect is going to instantly correct it and make sure we're playing the right note in the scale we need to work with. This means when you're writing your bass lines and melodies, you can be focusing more on how it sounds and less on playing the right notes. Let's record a bass line in, and I'm going to put in a few wrong notes just so you can see how the scale effect is working. You'll see that some notes are being played on the D sharp, which is actually in the scale of F minor blues. But you'll also see that some notes are actually played on the E, which is the wrong note. But if we listen back, you'll hear that no matter what, it's always going to be in the correct key. And that E is actually being changed to a D sharp. If I show you on the piano roll, the D sharp and the E actually play the same note. This is going to make your life so much easier when you're writing bass lines and melodies, because you know for a fact that it's going to be in the right scale. Combined with your other melodic elements, this is going to really be the foundation of having a coherent sounding track. Now that we've got our bass line written, it's time to start writing some melodic elements on top. We're going to start with a stab sound and working with a chord. Whilst chords can feel intimidating, with a few simple tricks, you can easily write them into your tracks. First, we have our stab sound, and we're going to open up a new MIDI clip. But looking at this blank piano roll, it's really hard to decide where we're going to put our notes. To begin with, let's always choose the root note, because that's going to be in the same key as the rest of our track, which in this case is an F. Now it's tough to decide where to go from here. So what we can actually do, in this clip section, press the scale button, and then this highlights notes within that scale. Currently it's set to C major, so we need to change that to F minor blues. So we'll change the note from C to F, and then major to minor blues. This means that every highlighted note that's on the piano roll is going to be in F minor blues scale. We can pick some of those notes within that scale, and that will make up a nice sounding chord. Whilst you're still developing your music theory knowledge, sometimes it's a case of trial and error to see what gels in the track the most. So I'm going to choose an F, the E flat or D sharp, and then a C. And let's build up a chord by double clicking here. We can maybe add another note. And that is now a really nice sounding chord. Really easy, but at the same time a nice complex chord that we've added into our track. And because it's using the same scale as our bass line, it's gelling in really nicely. Now from here, you can either move those MIDI notes in, or we can use another Ableton tool to help play this chord really, really easily. So to move on to this tool, I'm going to mute these notes and show you how you can play a chord with only one note. I'm going to select them and mute, and then I'm going to load up my MIDI effects, and this time open up a chord MIDI effect. This means that I can now choose the notes that go into this chord and simply trigger it with one note. So we have our root note, which is the F, and then we have this E flat, which is 2 semitones below. So we have 1, 2, and then this C, which is 5 semitones because it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 below. So if we open up our chord effect, we can put the second note down by 2 semitones and the third note down by 5 semitones. And this will play that same note by simply pressing the F note. If we wanted to create this more complex tone, we could go 1, 2, 3, 3 notes above, and then 4 and 5 above as well. So 3 notes above and 5 semitones above. And then this will now create that same chord that we've just had. From here, now that we've set up our chord effect, we can easily record in some patterns. Let's make sure this is quantized. And then also we're going to add a bit of swing to make sure that it locks in with the groove. If you're working with a swing track, make sure you're also applying your swing to your melodics as well as your drum grooves. Now that we've got a bass line and chord added in, it's time to write a lead melody. This is the sound I'm going to be using. By also adding the scale effect to our lead sound, we're going to automatically make sure that this is going to gel with our bass line and stab sound. Again, this means that no wrong note is going to be played, even if we do press a wrong note. I'm simply going to copy it from our bass line and add it to our lead sound. This means that any note we play will be in key. Now, whilst we've solved the issue of key and scale, we can go a step further by also solving any timing issues as well. And we can use the Ableton arpeggiator to help us. Again, we're going to go into our MIDI effects and open the arpeggiator. One important thing to note is that the signal flows from left to right. So when you're using multiple MIDI effects in conjunction with each other, make sure you have them in the right order. Now we're going to change the rate to 16th notes. Also, because we're using a swung track, we're going to change the groove from straight to swing 16. This means that when I hold a note, it's going to play that in a swung 16th pattern. Now by pressing different keys, I can play something that's in scale and in time with my track. So let's write a melody using these techniques together. I'm going to press the MIDI capture button here, and now I've got this entire pattern recorded out and ready to play. Because I have the scale set to F minor blues, you can also see that all of these notes are locking in with the F minor scale. If I had pressed a wrong note, however, it would still have automatically locked the tone of that note back onto the right scale because of our scale MIDI effect. To add an extra melodic element to our track, we're now going to add a drone. A drone sound is a continuous note held underneath the track. Typically it would come from a violin, but in dance music, this can be any sort of synth. We just need to make sure that it's in key with the rest of our track, and in this case, it's going to be an F. Because it's only a single note, we don't need to worry about the scale. We just have to make sure that it's the same as the root note of the rest of our track. If you're not sure what the root note is, look back on your scale MIDI effect and see what note you have it set to. In this case, again, it's going to be an F. So let's get this added in. Let's have it across 16 bars, and then we're going to choose the F. An F2 should be nice. We're going to input this short note, and rather than dragging it across the entire clip, we're going to simply press the legato button, which will extend it to the entire length of this clip. Now we can add this in, bringing the volume nice down low, because this wants to be a more subtle sound. Now we have 4 standout elements that are coherent and working together. And we've achieved this using some of our Ableton MIDI effects. These MIDI effects have helped me write bass lines, stabs, chords and drones really easily, which can then build up the entirety of my track. I can then add them and take them away to help create a nice arrangement, pushing me towards finishing my track nice and easily. By looking at how these MIDI effects are changing these notes will also help give you a better understanding of what is actually happening within them. This will be that first step into making music theory far less scary, and you can spend more time focusing on creating. In this particular track, I've obviously used a minor scale, but you can choose whatever scale that's going to match the tone of your music. I hope the techniques in this video will help elevate your music theory. If you want to push your music to the next level, then make sure you go check out the SYNTHO app.
SYNTHO.